Hi, Mochismo Eugene. Welcome to yet another video from Exit Strategy. Please like, subscribe, share the video if you found it helpful, and pass it on if you believe someone else would benefit from it. I'd appreciate that. Well, guys, it's probably going to be a series I would just do, and these series would start off something like, who can relate with this and the narcissist? Something to that effect. Who can relate to this? When you guys probably couldn't relate, and maybe some of you women, but this will be for the G's. Who can relate to, say in the past, a narcissist that you didn't know was a narcissist, but you knew that they were cunning, conniving. You didn't know they were despicable, nasty, and filthy in their lifestyle, in the way that they lived, though. They gave off the impression like they were decent. They were very attractive, but that's where it started and ended at, right there. The physical, the appearance. It was this female that I once shot my shot at years ago. You know, just nonchalant. Hey, how are you doing? you know, we doing this little verbal foreplay. And don't know if we exchanged numbers or not, but time went on. Nothing never happened. This is one of those cases where you're glad when a guy or a girl passes you up. And in this case, a girl. You guys understand, when you get passed up by individuals who you inevitably discover are narcissists, that was God saving you, because you were so blinded and caught up and captivated by appearance. They say back home, everything shines, not gold. And I get that now. And so fast forward years later, I'm into property management, restoration, whatnot, among a few other things, landscaping, excavation work. And that entails property management, entails some of which where when tenants get kicked out or evicted, or they bounce without paying their rent. I've had cases whereas tenants would just leave owing landlords 6 months or more in arrears for rent. And I've had some that would actually, a few, that would leave the contents of their apartment there. They would leave flat screen TVs, they would leave the furniture, which nobody wanted to sleep on any or sit on any of this furniture in many cases, in most cases. They would leave the whole entire house and the contents in it. I've had tenants that would get gallons of paint and pour them on the floor, hardwood floors, and it would get hard. They would graffiti the walls, you name it. Who can relate? And I had the unfortunate pleasure of one situation where I had to go in and I had to do what they call clean outs. I had to clean this apartment, throw everything out. And I generally wear, say, a mask sometime. Even if it's not that despicable, I still wear a mask, and I wear latex gloves and sleeves and covered legs and all of that good stuff, because there is nothing to be left to chance. And the garments that I wear, I normally just dispose of them immediately after I'm done as a protocol, if not a hazmat jumpsuit in some cases, in many cases. And so I go in this situation, and this is the girl that I had once shot my shot at. She is the one that occupied this residence. Now, I didn't know this at first, but the landlord showed me a picture of her, because I guess he had to have her ID. It was either he showed me a picture of her, or their ID was left on the floor, and I discovered it somewhere. They left everything in this house. The refrigerator was full of food, everything. Now, this is 101 in how despicable narcissists are when it comes to not only leaving you high and dry. They don't care about the contents of their refrigerator. They don't care about their furniture, because they've used each and every opportunity in their life as a lily pad. And I've used the analogy as We talk about Frogger. It was a video game called Frogger, and Frogger would jump from lily pad to lily pad, and when he missed a lily pad, he would sink and drown. But I don't know if he drowned permanently, but it was a game. And that's a very good analogy when you talk about a narcissist. They're jumping from lily pad to lily pad. They're riding the back of everyone else. And so I look at this ID and I notice this girl right away. But what I'm about to tell you guys will make you cringe. She now works at one of the service stations, one of the more popular service stations in this area, serving food, making pizzas, you name it. Now, I'm telling you that before I tell you this. As I'm beginning to extract the contents of this apartment house, I go in the bathroom and I look in the toilet and I look in the bathtub. This individual has dishes full in the bathtub. They have the toilet that hasn't probably worked in, I don't know, months. And you just do the math from there. And at this point, obviously I didn't have any business with that. I don't deal with that kind of stuff there. And so I was just responsible for taking the contents of the apartment out. And so I don't even think I extracted the dishes out of that bathtub. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But the toilet, under no uncertain terms did I deal with that. And so what I discovered was all through this house, the couches looked like someone who was a mechanic that rode from on a greasy car and just came home and laid on it daily for a month or two. It's just no words to really adequately explain it. The pictures would have to do justice, and I don't know if they would. This was the most disgusting, despicable, one of the most disgusting and despicable apartment houses that I have had the unfortunate pleasure to go into. Now, I don't expect them to be, I don't expect them to be anything but to the degree that these apartments were, I won't say dilapidated, disgusted as they were, it was mind-boggling. But to see this individual in the street, this female narcissist, you would not be able to put this and associate this type of living with her. But who could you? How do you tell if an individual, based on seeing them out and about, they're not disheveled, they're not in disarray, they have themselves fairly put together? And how do you compare that to individuals that are living this type of life? Well, there's really no real way to see that until you actually go to their house. And so when you gave the bullet, and this girl, just be grateful to God that you can see these things now. And this has happened on several occasions as to me seeing past females that I have had somewhat of an interest in. And this is when I was in my single stages. You would see someone that would pique your interest. I'm talking to my G's. This is why it's pertinent that you do not get wide-eyed for any and everything that looks good. Matter of fact, Awakened Empath, this is how this G works his life now. I notice, and I keep my noticing to myself. I don't speak on it because my interest in having a relationship or even wanting to get down with anyone is really, really -0 at this point. I'm loving my life. I'm working on me, and I love it. And there's just so many negative residuals in being involved with someone now. You don't know if they're a psychopath. They end up, you break it off. You have these females that they don't want to unlatch in males too, and they unalive one another. They just do not see breaking up. And that's probably one of the most concerning things to me. I mean, I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of anyone actually doing something to me directly. But that concern is great there. And you should have a concern. I mean, one minute you're involved with someone and you find out this relationship might not work out, and you just want to just cease and desist, which is your right. And now you got to worry about waking up dead. Not a life I want to live. So to stay single for a little while longer, I think I'm good. But this girl is serving pizza. She's working at this service station. And if you just would hear her, how she nonchalantly converses with her coworkers, just blending right in. The most despicable, disgusting, nasty, atrocious individual you'd ever want to see. And narcissists are reckless. They are very reckless. They are very nasty. They are very half-assed. It's like those pizzas she's making. And you have to realize, if you go into a place like this, and I gotta say it, guys, and this will keep us from eating out so much probably, be hesitant. I no longer eat pizzas from that place because of her. She has a hand in that. You can't see everything, I get it. But when you have indicated someone who is atrocious and nasty and half-assed as this person is, you would do yourself a disservice not to cease and desist. If it's not sealed in a container, don't consume it. And so she has this little nonchalant conversation going with people, and I'm like, man, they have no idea how disgusting she is. If the manager knew, and knowing what I know about her, some would say, well, you should just notify them. Well, think about that. If that's the case, they would be firing people right and left based on that. I mean, based on you telling them that somebody had an apartment house, but nonetheless, they couldn't right way fire somebody for that, for living the way they live. It would have to be something, and it's unfortunate, but it had to be something like, you'd be better off just telling them that she did something bad in the food at her last job, which would be a lie. But my point is, it's hard to connect this with people. It's almost like trying to get them to see that a person is a narcissist. So you have to just observe these things for yourself. Use this information and this insight for yourself. And like I'm doing here, get the word out, man. Get the word out on social media. Let people know that there are people living amongst us, serving food, working capacities, whereas they're dealing with delicate things such as food. And we're having to consume it. Unbeknownst to us, these people forget not wash their hands. They're worse than anything you could ever imagine. And a lot of them, they're vaping. They're inhaling the vape at the cash register when you're asking for a couple of slices of pizza. And you may say, well, they wear gloves. But I just think at a workplace, it just does not look professional for you to be inhaling a vape at the register or somewhere in the store and go on the next second and start serving somebody food. Very tacky to me. Nothing against people who vape or e-cigarette and whatnot. I used to smoke. I'm just keeping it 100. You keep those things separate. You have specific times and instances where you can go out and excuse yourself. Even go to the bathroom and do that. Discretion is everything, guys. And I know empaths and chosen ones, if you're doing this is the day you no longer want to do it, because there's something that compels you to want to change the way you're doing things. Unless you hear somebody say there's a problem with something, a lot of us empaths don't realize that there is a problem, because we kind of go along to get along. We blend in, but we're different. We're cut from a different cloth. We take pride in our personal ethics. whether people are holding us accountable or not, we hold ourselves to a standard that we don't normally compromise on. Are we perfect? No. But we don't just let it all hang out, man. These people I'm referring to here, man, they are reckless, nasty, excessive, impulsive, and just half-ass at everything they do. That being said, BLEZZ.